Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this first video in a series of 6 that we'll be looking at the TOEFL reading test. In this particular video we'll be presenting an overview of the TOEFL IB2 reading section and some general exam strategy. We're going to be looking at the different question types later on in this video series, but for now we're just going to be looking at giving you a general overview of the TOEFL reading section. So if we look at some of the information that's taken from the ETS website, the TOEFL test evaluates how well you combine listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills to perform academic tasks at the university level. So this will be the people that will be taking the TOEFL will be people who will be looking to go and study in an English-speaking country. So far, over 27 million people have taken the TOEFL, and the average English level ranges from between intermediate to advanced. So when we talk about your general English level, you need to be looking at somewhere between intermediate level and an advanced level of English to actually look at really seriously thinking about taking the test. If your level is lower than that, I would take a few months to look at improving your general English. Don't try and look at just cramming for the exam. Look at improving your general English. Now, the format of this video, we're going to be looking at some of the common questions that students have asked about the TOEFL test, and then we'll be taking on we're taking a look at some of the strategies as we go through and try and answer these questions. So the first question that I often get asked is, are the questions on the TOEFL exam easier than the questions in the textbook? The answer to this question is no. People who took the earlier version of the TOEFL test were taking text that had been abridged and simplified for the test. The modern test that you'll be taking, more than likely, the material is actually taken from actual freshman text with only slight alterations. On the test, there's certain time limits, so there's been some abridgment, there's been some reduction now and here and there, but there haven't been massive pieces that have been taken out to make it simpler and to make it easier for people who are non-native speakers of English. The material is actually taken now from real textbooks and the type of thing that you will be expected to plow through at the university level. The aim of this is that the test maintains a level of authenticity. We've discussed this before in the TOEIC tutorials, where the TOEFL test is actually giving you a sense of authenticity and a real taste of how you'll be expected to perform. The vocabulary, therefore, is closer to the actual test that you'll see. The test helps you focus on the skills, in that case, that you will actually need at university. The reading section is broken down into passages. They're about 700 words each. There are 3 to 5 passages in the test, and there are between 12 and 14 questions per page. The amount of time that you're allowed is between 60 and 100 minutes. So if we look at the way that this works out mathematically, you're given about 20 minutes for each question, for each passage, sorry, and you'll be answering between 12 and 14 questions per passage. There are 10 different question types, and we will look at those in depth in the next series of videos. Some key points to remember here, you can't really get away without improving your English. You can't really cram effectively for this test just by remembering as many words as possible. You need to improve your general level of English. You need to improve your exposition, how much English you're exposed to. And one specific focus that you need to be aware of is that you need to try and improve your vocabulary. Understanding academic vocabulary is essential, and the academic word list, the AWL, on the internet is a list of words that every freshman university student should know. Remember, this TOEFL is going to be focusing on university level texts. Therefore, you need to be looking at improving and making sure that you understand the academic vocabulary that you'll be required to have a grasp of before you actually enroll in university. With that in mind, we're going to have a look at the difference briefly between academic and technical vocabulary. We've looked at this. We've looked at some of this before. If you've taken any of our previous tutorial videos, we have actually looked at this before. Academic vocabulary is found across fields and disciplines of various studies. For example, the word analysis has the same meaning in science and history, although the methods are slightly different. So analysis across different subjects is actually the same. This is academic vocabulary. Technical vocabulary, however, is also known as terminology. And these are the words that have different meanings across different fields and disciplines. So, for example, bond has a different meaning in chemistry, where you're talking about the bonds between electrons, the bonds between elements, and a psychology class, where you'll be talking about the bond that a mother has with a child, or that a child has with a certain toy. So they're both intangible. They're not talking about actual kind of physical things, but they do have different meanings in different subjects. The next question that I get asked is, should we read the whole passage at the beginning? You'll be given a passage of, I think it's something like like we said, it's about 700 words. They're broken into paragraphs, 6 or 8 paragraphs. The question being, should we read the whole passage at the start? The answer is basically no, there isn't enough time. Also, it would be impossible to remember everything that you've read. We're going to be looking at strategies for individual questions, as I've said, but you don't need to read through the whole thing. It's not supposed to be a memory test, and we'll look at some of the ideas later on. So what should you do? How should you approach the test? It's important to know the difference between skimming and reading. Reading is when you pay close attention to deeply understanding the passage. And understanding the passage may take several attempts. You may have to read over to see how things connect in a paragraph, see how paragraphs connect together. Skimming, on the other hand, is looking over a passage quickly to get the basic idea or the gist of what the passage is talking about, what's the main idea, and how the passage is organized. Now, because time is something that we need to be aware of on this reading section, 3 to 5 passages to read through, and then 12 to 14 questions to answer. We're looking at about giving 20 minutes to each question. Now, time is something that we don't have on this reading section, so we should only really skim once or twice on the test. So the next question that kind of neatly leads on to that is this idea that we shouldn't read and we should skim everything. Well, not really either. With the academic test, what we need to look at with the academic text is that we need to be aware of the organization of these academic passages that we're going to be looking at. So the first paragraph is generally going to be the introduction, which will introduce the main idea that the passage will discuss in detail later on. The third and fourth, there will be 3 or 4 paragraphs. These will be the body of the academic text that you'll be given, and this will provide a detailed explanation and a breakdown of the ideas that were mentioned in the introduction. And finally, you'll get a paragraph where there will be a conclusion, there'll be a review of the main ideas presented, and there'll be a wrap-up that will bring everything neatly to a nice, succinct and definite end of the academic passage. Now, it's important to note that there isn't always a conclusion on the text that you'll see in the TOEFL. So we need to maintain this idea of knowing when to read. So we need to identify where the most important information is located. you need to aim to understand the main idea from the first time you see the text. So if you look in the introduction and the beginning sentences of the body, this is where some of the main ideas, the key points of the main ideas, will be held. And remember to read the introduction. You need the introduction will be an overview. It'll be, as we say it's a précis of the ideas and the arguments that will be presented in the main body of the passage. So you also need to know when to skim. You need to skim the body to confirm what you think the main idea is going to be. You will get these clues from the introduction, and then you'll be able to skim through, get the general idea, and get the general organization of the passage, and this will confirm or tell you if what you think the main idea is, or whether you need to look elsewhere and then change focus and look for other supporting evidence to get the main idea, because you're going to be asked questions about this. So this is a sample that is taken from the ETS Quick Prep download, and it's about the city of Teotihuacan, which is in Mexico. If you take a few moments just to read through, we're not going to go through this word by word, but take a few moments just to read through this, and you can get this from the website as well. There is a PDF download available. So we're now just going to look at the following passages, the next few passages that make up the body of the reading passage. We're just going to have a look at the first few sentences in each paragraph, just to show you how the information can be extracted, and we can get the general idea of what the paragraph will be talking about from just the opening sentence. So if we look at paragraph 2, the first sentence that we can see here: how did this tremendous development take place, and why did it happen in Teotihuacan Valley? So we can straight away see that this paragraph is going to be looking at things like the development of an area and some of the reasons why very, very fast development took place in the Teotihuacan Valley. We look at paragraph 3. The last factor is at least circumstantially implicated in Teotihuacan's rise. Prior to 20 BC, a number of relatively small centers coexisted in and near the Valley of Mexico. So we can see that these two paragraphs actually link together, because paragraph 3 begins with the last factor, which is mentioned at the end of paragraph 2, which is the volcanic eruptions of the late first millennium BC. Looking at question 4, if we look at the first sentence, it seems likely that Teotihuacan's natural resources, along with the city elite's ability to recognize their potential, gave the city a competitive edge over its neighbors. So we can imagine that this paragraph is going to be talking about some kind of competitive, maybe kind of economic competition that was happening between Teotihuacan and its cities and its neighboring cities. And of course, the fact that Teotihuacan had significant natural resources. If we move on to paragraph 5, the first sentence reads: long-distance trade in obsidian probably gave the elite residents of Teotihuacan access to a wide variety of exotic goods, as well as a relatively prosperous life. So the following paragraph will go into more detail about this. Here we can see a keyword like obsidian. We need to know what that is. And the fact that they're talking about the residents of Teotihuacan having access to a wide variety of exotic goods. And the fact that the elite also had a prosperous life. They were fairly well off. If we look at the bottom, there's a big list